So let me tell you a little bit about Dr. Harry Morgan Moses. He's the spiritual director for the Spirit Works Center for Spiritual Living in Burbank, California. He is a nationally recognized author, speaker, and motivational corporate trainer. Moses is the author of a popular book, It's So Easy When You Know How. It is right here next to me. Several years ago, a friend of mine handed this to me and she said, "Read this." I said, "Okay," and I'm so glad I did. It's a wonderful, wonderful book, and he does have some with him here. He was the host of a nationally aired magazine-style television program and the co-host of a network informational series. In 1999, Moses joined a select group of civic and spiritual leaders for dialogues with the Dalai Lama in the Synthesis Project at His Holiness residence in Dharamsala, did I say that wrong? Dharamsala, darn me. Dharamsala, India. Moses is the founder of the New Thought Center in San Diego, co-founder and past president of the affiliated New Thought Network, co-founder of New Thought Ministries in Oregon, served as a senior advisor at the Emerson Institute. Dr. Moses is featured in movies, Living Luminaries, The Serious Business of Happiness, What is New Thought, and the Dalai Lama Renaissance. In addition to his work for the business and secular world, Moses has spoken and done seminars for churches and centers throughout the U.S., Canada, Mexico, and the U.K. Dr. Moses lives with his wife in Topanga, California, and they have 2 adult children. Please join me in welcoming Dr. Harry Morgan Moses.
Well, good morning. Good morning, good morning. So let me know that the 11 o'clock service and the 9 o'clock service are really similar. But after all of that, I think maybe the ushers can come forward and we'll call it a day. What do you think? In 1976, as was shared to you in that brief introduction, I was warned by a team of doctors that I would never walk again. I was a skier. I was 20 years old at the time. And the doctors told me I wouldn't be able to go walk any further than to the bathroom and back. And I told them I was a skier. And they said, well, that was what you used to do. And I didn't like that. I had dreams at night in the hospital. I had IVs in me and monitors and everything, and I had dreams of skiing away from doctors in white jackets. My brother had lived in New York City, was a singer at the time. You heard I have some show business experience. My mother was an actress, and my brother was an actor. I was a child actor and did all that stuff. And he was singing in a little club called The Improvisation. Some of you might have heard of that. Robin Williams, the comedian, came out of there. Richard Lewis came out of there. My brother was the singer in that same group of people at the time. And he had always had chronic throat problems. Not a good thing if you're a singer to have chronic throat problems. And he had a classic Beverly Hills nose and throat doctor. And he was living in New York, and so when it would flare up, he'd have to fly home. And that was really getting to be not working very well. And one day he went to go see a speaker in New York City named Raymond Charles Barker. Raymond Charles Barker is a famous New Thought teacher and writer. We're all in New Thought. You all know that, right? We're all New Thought people. If you look in the dictionary, any dictionary after 1990, if you look, the word that follows New Testament is New Thought. So people always wonder, what happened after the New Testament? You're it, baby. This is it. We are it. We are happening, yes? We are awakening to our decision. Today's title is Opening to the Awesome, yes? So everybody do me a favor. I believe in touching your heart center, right? Ernest Holmes said that the I am center of your being should be the hub of your spiritual wheel. Do you know who Ernest Holmes was? Ernest Holmes was a great philosopher from the last century. He wrote a book called The Science of Mind and about other books about stacking about this high. He was a really great philosopher, continuing with a lineage of ideas that began around 1875. And it was the first time that somebody had said and had the experience of saying, well, what if this dude Jesus was not somebody up on the altar, but was telling us the truth, right? And this is what that master teacher said. He said, behold, the kingdom of heaven is within. Is within. The kingdom of heaven is within. Wait a minute. Now let's look at this idea of the kingdom of heaven. The kingdom of heaven, Ernest defined it this way, Ernest Holmes. He said, the ultimate goal of life is complete emancipation from all discord of every nature. Right? So that means if you're living your life, you're going forward the way I teach you to do. We have a practice. Everybody says, oh, that's the positive thought church. Or you go to CSA, that's the positive thought people. Okay, well, that's I guess, okay. But you ever known positive thought people who don't have positive lives? Yeah, that happens a lot, because you have to have what we call the heart and head connection has to be there. We understand the subconscious has to embody what it is you're believing, or it doesn't come out that way, right? Anyway, so the ultimate goal of life is complete emancipation from all discord of every nature. So I teach in this practice that the way you move from positive thinking to positive experiencing, you understand the difference, right? To an actual positive experience as your life is through embodiment. And the way you move into embodiment is through practice. Yeah. You all know how to get to Carnegie Hall, right? You get to Carnegie Hall by practice, practice, practice. That's the only way you're going to get to Carnegie Hall. So this practice, this spiritual practice that changes. And we have conventions. We in Centers for Church Living, we have conventions. And we go around these conventions. We are so great. We go around. So we are the only spirituality with no dogma. Okay, now, but wait. If you want to sign up for the practitioner course, you got to go in there. You tell somebody taking the practitioner exam, there ain't no dogma. You follow? But remember, here's what it is. There ain't no authority. There isn't an authority outside of your experience. That's the difference. So there is something required in order to have transformation happen in your life. This was announced by Paul. Paul never met Jesus. It was 80 years after Jesus. Paul said this line. He said, be ye transformed by the renewing of your mind. Be ye transformed by the renewing of your mind. What he didn't mention in that little sentence is by the way, human beings know nothing about transformation. Human beings know nothing about transformation, nor how to do it or how to make it happen. Because transformation is God's business. Transformation happens through God's ideas, through God's principles, through God's awareness happening in us. That's how transformation happens. But how do we get to transformation? The answer is by the renewing of our mind. So what we say here is the spiritual practice, and this is, sorry kids, the dogma. Here it is. You cannot grow, you cannot expand unless you move from a Sunday experience into a lifelong experience. Yes? And you cannot talk to God on Sunday and think your life is going to work all the rest of the days. Right? So one of the things I teach people is all the time, do not get out of bed. Do not get out of bed until you can greet the day. So people say, well, what if I have to go to the bathroom first? Then go to the bathroom, but go back to bed and greet the day before you get out. Right? Because greet the day means you have to find that place within you where you celebrate the fact that no matter what's going on in your life, you are the one that gets to discover it. You are the one who gets to experience it. If you're in the bottom, you get to rise to the top. If you're in the top, you get to unfold infinitely. So long as you keep your awareness in place. And keeping your awareness in place requires a daily practice. And here's what Dr. Holmes said. Dr. Holmes said, we don't have a dogma. So there's the way he said, oh, we don't have a dogma. I agree, we don't. But we do have a practice. In other words, we can tell you have to do this. You don't have to do it. You can do whatever you want to do. Isn't that true? Yeah. Everybody touch your heart and say, I am divine freedom. I am divine freedom. So you can choose what you're going to do. You can decide how much you want to be yoked. Right? Jesus said, remember, my burden is easy and my yoke is light. You know the term yoga, means yoke. Right? It means, you ever seen a horse? Everybody, I was horseback riding on Friday. You ever ridden a horse? If you've ridden a horse, you know a horse needs reins. Try to ride a horse without reins. It does not work very well. You follow? You have to be able to yoke that animal in order to use it. You have this extraordinary spiritual power within you. And the spiritual power is given to you not so that you can discover you're powerful, but you can wake up to the awesome that is the truth about you. So if you want to know where awesome is and opening to awesome, but touch your heart instead of say, I am. I am awesome. Now, this is the part that you get to discover, and you get to discover it through your daily practice. And here's the daily practice. Daily, we should meditate, Dr. Holmes says. Daily, we should meditate. Now, I've been doing this work for a long time, and I started meditating. I was initiated in meditation in 1972 with the disciples of not Paramahansa Yogananda, Maharishi Mahesh Yogi, Transcendental Meditation. Yes? So I began that practice a long time ago, and the Self-Realization Fellowship, which is Paramahansa Yogananda, he's the autobiography of a yogi, if you know that book. Very powerful, great read to read. He's the one who says, never tell yourself you cannot meditate. Everybody can meditate. So I sit down and meditate, I can't meditate. No, let me tell you again. Never tell yourself you can't meditate. Should I get the choir to sing that song again? The word, right? Never tell yourself you can't meditate. Everybody can meditate. Daily, Ernest says, we must meditate. If you do not know how to meditate, if you haven't gotten into a meditation practice, your ministry team will keep working with you. They'll keep telling you, and if you don't know how to start, you go over that table, you buy my CD. It's called Sea of Self. You do not drive it in the car. You do not play this in the car. You sit down in your house and you put the CD in, and you will learn how to be still. You'll get to a place where Deepak Chopra, that's the energy center's Deepak Chopra. I'm just seeing how awake you are out there. Chakras are the energy centers through the body. Deepak Chopra is the writer. We align. Deepak says that the meditation is not what you are doing, it's what you're not doing. It's not your thoughts, it's what you're not thinking. It's the gap between the thoughts. So we learn to daily we meditate. So it's a very simple practice. Don't get out of bed until you can greet today. Meaning find that place within you where you're grateful to be you. When I was hospitalized, we're going back to that story. When I was hospitalized, I discovered that there's a place within you that's the real you. There's a place within you that is that awesome that you just touched. There's a place within you where you begin to, the spiritual symbol is the lotus flower. You begin to open each blossom of your unfolding divinity. And that place within you is a sacred and holy spot, and that is the awesome. It's so awesome that you get to be with it and do it. Get this, you get to be with it and do it. Now we're talking about awesome. But you got an idea of awesome. However big your idea of awesome is, it needs to get bigger. You get to be with it and do awesome forever, for eternity. Awesome, unfolding to awesome, and ever greater awesome, beyond awesome, and all of it is within me. Behold, it is within me. Whoa. So daily we meditate, and daily we do spiritual mind treatment. Well, spiritual mind treatment is the greatest gift that's ever been given. Not because Ernest gave it, but because it was already there, and somebody said, hey, look, it's all around us, we can grab it. And what is it that's all around us that we can grab? I am that which God is, step 1 and step 2. So if you haven't gone to class yet, don't be mad at yourself. Grab some CDs, throw them around, come on Sundays, and sign up for class. Because you cannot change your life unless you do the changing. You got it? You cannot change your life unless you do the changing. So here's what happened. So I'm in this hospital bed, and that morning, the doctor, who was the surgeon in charge of my case, this is after a team of them. Could you imagine having 7 doctors tell you you're never going to walk again? And they come in like in a big meeting in white robes all around your hospital bed with meters going. And I'm surprised some alarm didn't go off when they said that to me, right? So this is after this has happened, and the doctor is in charge comes in the next morning. And he says to me, how you doing? Well, I said, I'm not doing well. I said, you guys scare me every time you walk in here. Everything everybody does doesn't let me have any peace of mind. I can't get well here. I need to be home. I need to get to my golden retriever. I can't heal like this. And he said, well, I can't let you out of here with your leg swollen like that. And I said to him, I said, well, if my leg wasn't swollen, would you let me out? He says, yes. I said, okay. Well, that day, my brother calls me, the one who was in New York City. And he says, you know about my story. So what I didn't finish with a story with my brother goes to see Raymond Charles Barker, this famous speaker, in Lincoln Hall, the Lincoln Center in New York City. He lectured in Alice Tully Hall for a lot of years there. And he hears in this lecture, just like some of you may be new here for the first time, he hears in this lecture these ideas about this power that's within you, about the gift of wholeness, about the reality of your true I am consciousness and what it really is, and that you can shift it no matter what you've done with it. You know, whoa, laying out all these ideas. And he says, and I have private meetings and you can schedule. My brother hears this idea of private meetings, and he schedules a private meeting with Raymond Charles Barker. At that time, he was so full, his schedule was so full, took about 3 weeks to get that meeting. And he had this one meeting with Raymond Charles Barker, and my brother, who is now still my older brother, he was then, he still is, has never had a throat problem since then. Since one meeting. So he got a word, right? He got one word, he got an idea, a thought that changed his consciousness, right? And so he calls me, and now I'm laying in the hospital bed. He said, you heard about me, what happened to me with the guy I saw in New York? I said, yeah, you haven't had to fly back to see your throat doctor for a long time. He says, yeah, I don't think I'm ever going to do that anymore. He says, but the guy who teaches that same stuff is right down the street from your hospital. Do you want to talk to him? I said, yeah, I want to talk to him. So he said he's going to come over at 4 o'clock in the afternoon. So Dr. Hart comes into my house. The guy came, he was a minister at the center, like this, and he was 6'6". He had bald head, little gray hair on the side, completely bald, and he wore little round spectacles. I mean, literally, I have a sketch of him in my office. He looked like Gandhi on steroids. Right? And he walks into my hospital room. I got all these things in me and the machines beeping and everything. And he says, hi. And he introduces himself, and I introduce myself, and I started to talk. You can't imagine me talking. I started talking. I talked to him for about an hour. Just an hour, maybe an hour and 15, so I didn't even take a breath. I just let him, every belief this young man had about life and what was true and everything else. And at the end of this, he stood up and he said, Harry, there are 2 things I'd like you to know. The first one is I'm awfully glad to have met you, as he shook my hand. And the second one he said is I want you to know everything's going to work out just fine. And he walked out of the room. And he walked out of the room. And you know, they have little windows in the hospital doors, you know? The door closed behind him, and I watched this bald head just sort of recede. Now, outside my hospital window on this side was a big billboard. And across the big billboard was written the word tough, T-O-U-G-H, all in black, all the way across the board. It said tough. In little red letters, it said Chevette. Some of you might remember that old car. Chevette is long gone. Tough is still around. I look over at this thing that says tough, and I look back at this receding bald head, and something in me just started to laugh. I saw something just seemed ironic, something just seemed wildly silly about everything, right? None of this made any sense for the last 2 weeks, what happened to me. And all of a sudden, this guy did what that was, and this is saying tough, and the whole thing. You ever had one of those moments where something just strikes your funny bone? And then you know how when you start to laugh like that, if somebody says either the punchline or one word about it or something again? Well, like every time I looked at tough, it got funnier, and every time I looked at the window, it got funnier. And all of a sudden, I'm laughing so hard, light starts to happen inside me. It's happening in my gut, it's happening in my chest, and I begin to fill with light. The whole room begins to fill with light. The bed, everything is becoming light, and it's getting funnier to me. What I learned later, this is what you call a cosmic laugh. God touched me with this cosmic laugh, and literally, I'm laughing so hard, I'm banging up and down that, of course, it caused the machines to send off alarms. And I can't stop laughing, and here comes the nurse running, and what the heck happened, and the machines are going off, and she said, you have to calm down, you have to calm down. So, and the light, I don't know what would have happened because there was so much light, I don't know what was going to happen. It looked like everything was going to turn into the light, including me, right? But here comes the nurse, and you've got to calm down, and gradually this all sort of comes back down to some kind of normal. And, okay, you okay? Yeah, I'm going to get you some water. And I'm fine. So, the next morning, the nurse comes in. She's doing their blood test, drawing blood all the time, measuring things, doing all the stuff in this. And she comes in, she measures my legs. She measures, and she goes back, and she measures again. She goes back this leg, back, and she measures again. She looks at the chart and doesn't say anything to me, and she walks out. About an hour later, the surgeon comes in, the one who told me I couldn't leave the hospital. And he comes in, he looks at the chart. He thinks something's wrong. He reaches into a pocket, he takes a measuring tape. He measures my leg, and he measures my leg. He looks at the chart, and he measures my leg, and he measures my leg. And he said, your leg is practically normal. And I said, and you said I could go home if my leg got normal. So within 24 hours of meeting Dr. Hart, Moses met Hart, God's sense of humor, right? Within 24 hours of meeting Dr. Hart, I was released from the hospital. That was in September. In January, I was skiing. And I've been skiing ever since. As a matter of fact, I ski good. But I knew that he knew something. He knew something, and I needed to know what he knew. And so the first opportunity he opened the doors of his center, I went. If he would have Wednesday night, I went. If he had a class, I went. If he opened the door on Sunday, I went. There was no amount of this. I couldn't study. I wanted to understand it. I wanted to learn it. And all of a sudden, my life changed. Because I began to look at life from the inside out. And life is an inside job. And I began to discover that this idea is not about going, getting, and having. You can have parking places, and you can have lovers, and you can have abundance, and you can have all of that. Because it's the Father's good pleasure, the Father and Mother's good pleasure to give you the kingdom. Because this is the truth. The Father and Mother gave you everything. It gave you itself in its entirety. God made you in its image and likeness. And we always think, oh, no, that's sort of a general idea. No, you're not getting it. God made you in its image and likeness. That at the center of your being is the glory of God. And we say, well, how could that be? Well, I thought Jesus had the center of I thought the Buddha had it in the center of being. I thought Mother Teresa had the center. I thought Nelson Mandela had it in the center of being. I thought Gandhi had it in the center. No. Everybody touches us and say, I am. I am the awesome. I am the awesome. Because what happens is our vision of God is too small. We say, how could God make everyone the center of the universe? That's impossible. No, you're not that smart. You don't see it. You've made God too small. God has made you the living Christ, has made you the Buddha, the Atman, the high self, the glory of the Most High. By any name, by any tradition, it's what's within you. It's the truth about you. And so when you come here to the Center for Spiritual Awareness and you study ideas about your interconnectivity of all of life, this is not pablum. This is the substance of being itself. Because Ernest said this, you were born to have fun living. Can you imagine that? You were born to have fun living, to constantly commune. Oh, here it is. To constantly commune with a presence that is within and around you, and to grow and expand forever. And this is the gift that has been given. And what we have to do is align with it. Instead of quit screaming out to life, align with me. I am one with it. It is the I am that I am. It is all love, all joy, all glory, all wisdom. It is the experience of ultimate emancipation. And its kingdom is within you. Wow. Oh, wow. Oh, wow. And so I have been thirsty for more than 30 years. And I'm thirstier than I've ever been. And I'm more quenched, and I'm more satisfied, and I'm more alive, because I've just begun to understand the glory of God
is within me, and it's within you. And together we can experience this, and we can awaken the world. And that's the coming of the cosmic Christ. And that's what New Thought is, and that's who we are. You came from the light. You have put on a coat of skins, and you shall return to the light. But let us dance together in the light, in the glory, now. So I'm here this afternoon. I hope you join me. These ideas are the most powerful ideas in the world. I just don't think it. I know it. And I am so committed to doing everything I can to help each and all of us wake up so that we can be in this glory together. So if you can join me this afternoon, so be it. And if you can't, until we meet again, I know you'll go in the light and as the light and with the light. That the longtime sun shall shine upon you, and that the pure light within you will guide you on your way. And I want you to know, wherever you are in your spiritual journey, wherever you are, whether you're facing the biggest opportunity you've ever seen, or whether you're facing the most toughest challenge you've ever known, everything is going to work out just fine. And I invite you to think on these things as together we explore the possibilities. Namaste. Thank you. Namaste.